All right, so we're recording.
All right.
So thank you so very much, Tammy, for joining Connected by Heartbeat today. We are so glad that you were able to get on here. Especially with August being our month to celebrate friendships. And so I guess we can start out by telling people kind of how we met and how long it's been.
Ooh, I don't know if we want to say how long it's been.
Right. Because I still claim 35 every now and then. So
Right. So you were real. You were an infant. We both were.
and you were a toddler.
Yeah. It was it was 1998.
98. Yep.
Yep.
Yep. I think I worked in Sears together in Virginia, Richmond,
Yep.
Virginia. And I moved to Richmond in September of 98 to work at Sears.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got there in February of 98. You came in September, and then we were both out of there by 2000.
Yeah. I left in 2000.
Yeah.
2000. And we did our first Christmas together, first Sears retail Christmas.
Yeah. Well, it wasn't my first one.
Oh,
I worked for them before, but it was my first as a manager. So
yeah, right. It was my first one. It was eye-opening.
Mhm.
Because I started that program, that management program in January of 98. So I came in after the Christmas season.
Yeah,
I think had I seen one, I may not have elected.
it might have changed your mind. Yeah,
I might have. But it was a busy time, but it was exhilarating back then,
it was.
It really
It was a very cool. I tell people all the time how cool it was to have had that program to be able to go through it. Like
yeah,
it was a really good program to give you a first stepping stone, but it laid some foundation for it too. And
absolutely. I
it,
still use a lot of the things I learned back
yeah,
then in other managerial roles I've had. Um, even, you know, P&L. Shoot, I still
right. Knowing how to read your
that
reports.
was the thing. Yeah, yeah. Always thinking about year over last month and year over year
Right.
and month over month. And yeah, I still have all those same thought processes today. So
Exactly.
yeah, yeah. Um, I think if I don't know when our first encounter was, but I do remember seeing you from a distance, like walking through the store and you wondering like, oh, I'll have to meet her. I think that's one of the other managers, that kind of thing. Just kind of not really
Yeah.
knowing everyone in the store. But you were friendly right from the beginning, very welcoming right from the beginning.
I
And
was
I didn't
ex- I was so excited to have another trainee come in, like, because
right.
there was the hierarchy of things. Oh,
Yeah.
you were a trainee,
Yeah.
and you had this, like, your smile was like, oh, she's
Aw.
friendly. I'm so excited.
Yes,
That was,
I was so happy to meet people. I didn't know a lot of people when I moved
yeah.
there. I had family there, but I'd never met them until I
Mhm.
moved there. So I really didn't go to Richmond with a whole lot of, connections. So the
Yeah.
people that I met at work, quite a few of them I'm still in contact with, but you and I think, have remained the closest over, wow, 4 years. And that's gonna,
Yeah. It's
yeah,
been a minute.
it's been a minute. So through this friendship, man, when we left Richmond, I left in June of 2020. When did you leave? You left before me. Maybe like
2000.
February 2000. That's what I mean.
2000. Yeah.
2000. Yeah, yeah.
Um, yes, it was in January
January.
because um yeah, because I got down to Raleigh just in time to do inventory.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right. Throw you
So
into the fire. Yeah.
mhm.
I remember being so excited for you leaving, getting a promotion and all of that. I remember being so excited. And that was the last time we ever lived in the same place.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And but we remain friends. I don't know that we've had really extended periods of time where we didn't still check in on each other, you
Yeah, I
know?
mean, there probably been maybe a couple times there were a year or almost a
Mhm.
year, but yeah, there's always been a check-in. Are you
Yep.
still here? Are you still here? Are you still living
Right.
here?
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And
And then
that's good friendships do that though. You know,
that's true.
you
And then
don't,
the other thing too, that it doesn't matter how long it's been between the times,
right.
you just pick up, you know, you
Exactly.
catch up. Your husbands look at you like crazy because you're on the phone for 4 hours, like I haven't talked to her in a year. It's been 6 months,
That's
Um,
exactly right. Yeah.
and they were always good for that, giving
Hmm.
us that time. Um, so social media, I think, makes it easier to keep in contact with people. But
Hmm.
I know I'm not your only long distance friend.
Right.
So, how do you keep in touch and make sure that your friendships stay intact when you want to move way out to another state, far, far away from the rest of us?
I think that I think with it, with any friendships, some are meant to be there and go away, and some are meant to stay there through the long haul. So, and sometimes you have different pieces of different kinds of friendships with the same person. So, my longest friend is we've been friends since we were 4.
Mhm.
That's a long time.
That's a long time.
It's a long time. We
Yeah.
won't say exactly how long, but it's a long
Yeah, but
time.
it's been a while. It's been a while.
It's been a minute.
Yeah.
But she and I have had different kinds of I was off career oriented. She had her babies and she went decided she wanted to be a nurse. So we've gone through all of those different iterations of ourselves through all of the years and had connections through all of that time and connections through her family.
Mhm.
Um, because my mom and her grandmother were best friends. So we kind of stayed in that close thing for years and years and years. So um and others, you think you're going to be friends forever, and yeah, it just doesn't work. You just
Right.
get to different places at different times, and it just doesn't work out the way it was supposed to.
I
So
think people often feel a little guilty by that for a lot of different reasons. I know I've lost friends through the years, and sometimes it was what I elected, and other times it was what they elected. But I don't think when you're the person that's either letting someone go or you're the person being let go, that you can't always take it personally, right? Especially if nothing really happened within the
yeah,
friendship, but that you just oftentimes your life is taking you on different journeys, or you just don't you've grown differently,
right,
right? People decide what they're going to accept for themselves as things change, but I think the most important thing is to be connected to the right relationships that you
right.
should be connected to, and give yourself grace that sometimes that changes, and it has nothing to do with necessarily of the type of person you are. Now there are times that we need to change. We
Right.
somebody left
Yeah, true,
because you're not
true.
the best friend, right? So I think the evolution of that we have to realize as well, because we all should be changing for the better, and
Right.
moving forward in our lives. But when I think about my whole brand and mission to help people be more connected and to have emotionally enriched experiences and relationships, that I definitely have to step back to your point and say everything is seasonal. I
It
think you
is.
make the best out of the relationships that you have while you have them,
Right.
right? Because death isn't the only thing that
It's
separates
true.
friendships sometimes. Yeah.
And going back to, all of the people that we worked with through all of the years,
Mhm.
and we both have a handful,
Right.
you
Right.
know,
Yep.
the handful was meant to stay. We're not done teaching each other, or,
Right.
however you want to look at it.
Right.
The others were meant to be there in the period of time that they were there. So
Mhm.
it was good that they were there. We learned from them, they learned from us,
Mhm.
but you just don't maintain that. And others are
Yeah.
meant to stay there to keep you steady, to keep you going in a certain direction, give you insights that you don't have or didn't have throughout your life.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sharing and understanding other people is like, it's a cool thing about friendships and just randomly meeting people and hitting it off, because
Yeah.
you find out, wow, that there are cool people and they come in all shapes, sizes, shades, you know,
Absolutely.
it's,
Absolutely.
it's the most
Yeah.
wonderful thing.
It really is. It really is. Um, I know for me, having relationships with different friends, I have a different relationship with most of my friends. You
Hmm.
know, in some cases, I probably am a different personality with different of my friends because
Yeah.
just what we talk about is different. So
Right.
I'm still the same person, but they just bring out a certain part of me, you know.
Right.
um I do love it. Like one of the things I love about our relationship is that we can get on the phone and we can crack up for over silly stuff for hours, right? But then we can also have the most focused, strategic conversation about goals and what we're trying to accomplish and what
Mhm.
work looks like and what we like, what we don't like. And then we go to what we're praying for, you
Right.
know, and we're lifting each other up in prayer. And for me, I know that no matter what phase I've been in my life, those types of friendships that kind of are so much of who I am
Right.
that they just stay. They
Yeah.
just stay, you know?
And part of it is seeing a piece of yourself in your friend,
Mm,
you know?
mm,
That's where there are little pieces of each of us that connect us in some
I
way, that we can have, we, like you said, we can go from silly fool laughter into very serious topics.
right,
And
right,
we should,
right.
but but we enjoy it like that. And we're being open and going through that is
Mhm.
exactly what I like about our friendship.
Yeah.
That we can do that. And most of my people that are in my close circle, we can do that.
Mhm. Mhm.
And
Absolutely. Me too.
there's a,
Most of them.
there's a saying, friendship isn't the quantity, it's the quality I'm sure that I
Yeah.
screwed that all up, but
It sounds familiar to me. I'm with
yeah,
you.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's true friendship is not in the multitude of friends, but in their quality and worth, I think
Mm.
and I got it was like a little tin candle when I was young, was somebody gave it to me as a gift. I don't know if it was at church or if it was at school or what, and
Mhm.
I thought, that's true. But
Yeah.
at the age I got it, I was like, oh, I want a bunch of friends.
Right. Right.
But as you mature,
Mhm.
you can have a lot of acquaintances, but putting the flag of
Right.
friendship
Yeah.
is special.
Yeah, I've always been really picky about who I call friends. I,
Hmm.
I, in fact, I probably am a little looser with the term now than I used to be. Like you had to really have gone through the muck and mire with me before I would consider you a friend. I mean, we had to have gone through some things. You have to know some things that I don't want anybody else to know. And you
Right.
told me some stuff that
And
I'll
know
just.
you, yeah, and know you can keep them to yourself.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So I mean, I had a lot of acquaintances, people I knew, people I laughed with, went out with. But if you wanted me to label them as a friend, I wouldn't.
Yeah.
I would not. Because that word has always meant has always been so valuable to me.
Yeah.
Um, so and I think one of the things, I see these reality shows all the time, right? Well, I don't watch them all the time because I think there's a little irritating, but it's one thing that I've noticed is that all these women are fighting and fussing all the time. They're falling out of friends and they're cussing
Yeah.
each other out. They're physically fighting. And I'm going, my friends and I don't do that, right?
No.
So, but have you had some instances where you have fallen out with with a friend? And
Yeah.
how did you resolve that? Like, how did you bring that back so that you all could rekindle that relationship?
Once you have a falling out, it depends on the size of the falling out. You might have a disagreement. It's a one-time kind of thing. And if you say something, you apologize. And, you know, one friend, since I was 4, we've had one fight since we were adults.
Mhm.
And, you know, looking back on it, it was quite silly.
Right.
In fact,
Yeah,
we
yeah,
laugh about it now,
yeah.
but it was, I mean, it was an uncomfortable couple of days because it was my fault. I
Mhm.
said something I shouldn't have said, so I apologized to her, apologized, and then I kind of said, now it's up to you. Like I've
Right.
said, I've apologized to you. I hope you accept my apology, but please don't let this one moment in our many year friendship ruin it, you
Right.
know? And it was a one moment thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Another long-term friendship, college roommate. We stayed close and we've drifted apart probably in the last 5 years to I had to remove myself from that situation, that
Mhm.
friendship, because of my own, it was just easier for me.
Mhm.
Um, and I didn't want to, but
Right.
sometimes you have to look out for yourself and how much you can do and for how long you can do it.
Right.
When it's kind of the same thing over and over. So,
Mhm.
and those are always, I mean, it's hard. And we've
Yeah.
spoken and sent text messages a couple of times
Mhm.
since then, but it's just been a hard thing. And
Yeah.
you find yourself in a moment of how do I do this? And there's a level of guilt, you know. I've
Mhm.
always been here, I've always been there for this person, and now I'm not.
Right.
And but friendship is also reciprocal.
Every
It
relationship is at that point.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know, a healthy relationship is reciprocal, that you're there for each other and at good times and bad times, you know.
Mhm.
But so yeah, it's not it can sometimes you can come back from it, sometimes you can't, but most of
Mhm.
the time just acknowledging the problem in a simple I'm sorry will take care of it.
I think an
That's
apology goes a long way.
right. A
And
sincere and a
yes,
sincere.
sincere apology, right?
Mhm,
Um, a lot of people have a difficult time apologizing.
mhm.
I didn't know that. I'll say sorry in a heartbeat, when I'm sorry,
Right,
when I'm sorry.
right.
But I do if I've hurt somebody's feelings and it's usually not intentional. Not usually. I don't say I
It's
you
always
know me.
always that
So
room.
you know me.
Gotta leave that little space in there.
Let's not lie just because we on the internet. Listen, there are
Right,
some times when it was purposeful, right?
right.
Um and
Things needed to be said. Yeah.
intentional. But I just don't have a problem. Like it doesn't bother me to say that I'm sorry. It doesn't bother me to acknowledge that I've hurt someone. But you have to know that you've done it, right?
Right.
And so that's communication as well. To
And
be
that's
able
part,
to say, hey, you hurt my feelings.
yeah, and that's part of it too, is seeing, you know, sometimes the person hurting doesn't see that they're hurting of
Mhm.
their friend. And it might be because of what they're caught up in their life. Uh,
Yeah.
so you, you have to be vocal about it, but you have to be able to tailor it in such a way that it doesn't cause anybody extra harm
Yeah.
to.
Yeah. I recently last year actually have a very good friend that I met in college. And I was really taking time to inventory what type of friend I have been to people, right? And so I asked him, I said, hey, am I a good friend to you? Like, have I been, because I've known him probably since oh yeah, man, it's been a long time, right? It's close to 30 years that I've known him, right? So, oh no, more like 34 years. Almost as old as I am, right? Almost that age. So I asked him, it's just a question I never asked him. We've been friends for a long time. And he told me something that I did in my early 20s, right? And after he told me what I'd done, and at first, you don't. I always believe that the person that's the offender, they don't never really remember what they've really done, right?
Mhm.
It's usually the person you did it to that was hurt by it. They remember it exactly. They can tell you word for word where you were, what color you were wearing, the whole gamut.
Yeah.
And so when he told me what it was, and I sat and I thought about it, I started remembering, the incident, and I apologized to him. His immediate response was, "No, it's okay. I mean, it doesn't bother me." No, 30 years later,
And you remembered it. It
it
bothered you.
bothered you, right?
Yeah.
It bothered you. And he had all the right to be upset for what it was, because I didn't properly communicate, nor did I at the time, being that age, understand the depth of what it did,
Yeah.
for him. And just young and not understanding. Look, I hadn't had that experience before. I didn't know that was gonna be an impact to you. I
Right.
didn't understand it on the same level that you understood what was going on. But of course, I apologized to him. Now, do I know if it really mattered 30 years later to him that I said I was sorry? But what I do know is that I did not properly communicate with him at the time, right? I didn't give him the whole story. Like I didn't give enough conversation to the, hey, I know I said I was going to do this, but I can't do it, and this is why I can't do it, but I can
Right.
do this, but I can do this part. And so I think what often happens is we don't give all the details that we should do.
Mhm.
And then we don't go back and we don't. So I was glad that I asked him, because I would have never known. I would have never known that. And I mean, we've been at each other's homes, I just shared our families through the years. But if I never would have asked him that, I never would have had the opportunity to apologize for something that I didn't even mean to, to hurt him by, or whatever it is, whatever emotion that it caused him. It may not have been hurt or whatever it was. So I think we have to check in with our friends. I
Yeah.
think we have to check in and ask, hey, what kind of friend I am? And it's not because you're ready to argue. It's not because you're ready to defend yourself,
Mhm.
right? But I really want to know, am I a good friend to you? And if not, how can I be a better friend to you? And I think those types of conversations strengthen the relationship and strengthen the friendship. But you got to have tough skin and be ready.
I
You
was
know,
gonna say, I was
you got
gonna
to
say
be
that
ready.
part of it, because you do need to be ready. You
You
need to
got
be
to be
ready if
ready.
you ask
Yeah,
that
don't.
question,
Yeah. If you
because
don't
like
think
you
you can
said,
handle it, say write it down.
right.
Let's go. And you can only tell me 3 things. Don't take me past that. Know your
Take it,
threshold.
baby, 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 baby. Right.
Yeah, just
Today,
give me the
you can
little
tell
one.
me today 2 things and we'll discuss them. So get the biggest ones out of the way.
Right. Don't start with the big stuff. Don't start with the big stuff. I might not be able to handle it.
Right. It could
But
be something like, I really dislike that your favorite color is eggplant,
right, yes. I'm gonna need you to start there. Start there. Start there.
or something like that.
Yeah. And then I think we have to be gentle when we're answering that question too.
Right.
And I would probably say that every relationship and every friendship has maybe not grown to that state that they can have that conversation.
That's
Right.
true.
I don't
That is
tend
true.
to ask questions that I'm not ready for the answer,
Hmm.
because I've analyzed every possible thing, right, of how good or how bad it might be before I ask it. And I'm like, okay, I'm asking, but I'm holding on.
Yeah.
But yeah, every relationship probably cannot handle that level of honesty. Um, so
And
I don't know
sometimes,
that I would suggest it for everybody.
although, although, but everybody needs to have at least one friend that will give them the honesty.
Absolutely.
you
I
know,
agree.
because sometimes you're searching for the answers and you can't find it on your own.
Mhm.
And
Yep.
you asking your friends, you're looking for, a way to help find out more about yourself too, and help improve yourself when you're doing it. So,
Yeah,
but we should all have the one blunt friend.
absolutely. I have plenty of them. I think I have lots. I think everybody likes the opportunity to be able to, oh, wait a minute, girl.
Let me tell you how
I don't think I have a friend that doesn't tell me. I don't know if they don't tell me everything. They, I'm sure all of you might hold something back, but I don't think
Yeah.
I have a friend that hasn't corrected me somewhere along the line and say, okay, wait a minute, even if we laugh about it, make a joke about it, we're usually pretty honest.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I could never walk out the house with my friends and go somewhere and they didn't say, what you doing? Like, why did you choose that?
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah.
when it comes to life, they definitely each of them in their own way.
Yeah.
And I appreciate it because to your point, that is what helps us grow, right? If they
is.
never say anything, the people you trust and love and that are not there to hurt you, right?
Right.
If it's a true friend, they're not hurting you. They're not purposely doing anything to make you feel worse. It's a
Right.
growth moment. And they don't always feel good, because it stretches us. So it doesn't
Right.
always feel good. But
But
it's
it's
important.
necessary. Yeah.
Absolutely. And
We have to.
probably just not for that friendship, but for your mental health, probably sometimes for our emotional and our physical health, all of
Yeah.
those things, they help.
And the thing too is in thinking, friends, well, you have a daughter who's a teenager.
Mhm.
And I have another friend who has a soon to be 15-year-old. So they're right in that same,
Mhm.
although to them, no, they're not, because
Right.
15 and that they're two completely different worlds. But just the experiences that they go through and being able to want to take all of the experiences you had with your friendships over the years and be able to say to them, your high school friends aren't necessarily going to be your friends forever. You're going to grow and change. Although
Yeah.
most of, I'm still in
Yeah.
touch with all
I
of my
still have some, but
classmates.
there are some that have fallen out that I thought would be there forever.
Mhm.
And there are some that have fallen out, but I do have some that are elementary school, middle school, high school, that are still there. In some instances, we still talk, but they're not maybe as close as we were in the fourth or fifth grade. But we still keep in touch. There's still a love there,
Right.
right? Because of, you knew each other way back when.
Right. So there's always that shared experience. There's
Mhm.
always it. And it's hard to communicate that backward to say this many years from now, you're going to sit with this person and you're going to laugh so hard about this fight
Yeah.
that you had,
Yeah. Oh man.
or
Tell
you'll
me.
discuss the good old days at
Yeah.
whatever middle or high school,
Mhm. Yeah.
you don't
Or don't
realize.
worry about it. They may not even be around in 20 years.
Right. Who
On
knows
both
what's,
sides. You just never
yeah,
know. Yeah.
who knows what's
Yeah.
going to happen. Could
Right.
just end up being anything.
Yeah. But I definitely am thankful for the friends that I've come to accept in my adult life because I really have so many friends from where I grew up and
Yeah.
people I've had in my life for 30, 40 years that I was so resistant to allowing other people in my life because I felt like that was my love circle. It's big enough.
Mhm.
But I'm glad that I did decide to open up to people like my Tammy Joe, that I renamed, so many years
No,
ago.
my mother gave me that name.
So I do think I am better because I started opening up to allow other people in. You know,
Yeah.
I don't know that I missed anything, but I definitely gained a lot for having people like you in my life.
And I say the same right back to you. I think of all of our childhood people,
Mhm.
our hometown people. Those were
Right.
our foundation. Those
Mhm.
were the one. That's where we learned how to be a friend, and then we would take it from there into our college years, to our training programs, to our whatever, and just to see how we would, how we do from there. But you knew, you always had your base, you always had your foundation. So
Yeah,
putting yourself out there, it's a hard thing to do sometimes, but
it
it's
is.
worth it. It's worth it in the long run if you end up with one or two special friendships that
Mhm.
last through many, many, many things.
Yeah, right. Many, many things.
Yeah,
Many, 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 many
many,
things.
many. Too many to discuss.
Too many. Too many. Especially on this.
Right.
Um, but yeah, I any other things that you want to share with the good people about friendships in this month of August?
I just think I love the people that you have in your life, and let them know that you love them. Love you, Jess. And um, but just be a good friend to people and be open to different thoughts and different ways, because it's only going to build a better you. Friendship is about building a better you. It helps you become a better person. So that's all.
I love it. I love it. Well, thank you for joining us today. I'm so glad that we were able to connect these many,
Mhm.
many states away, even though we couldn't get to see one another in person. I still got to see your face, and you're definitely a huge part of my life. And I'm so happy to be able to share this little part of this friendship month with you.
Yes, right back at you.
All right, baby.
All righty.